This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by Mountain Glass Arts. For the month of March, Mountain Glass is offering Northstar first quality borosilicate rods at 25% off. Just put in the code Northstar at checkout. That's NORTHSTAR. And for all you soft glass nerds, they're offering their soft glass COE 104 sale double helix rods at 15% off. Just put in the code DHELIX at checkout. That's DHELIX. And for any other questions or comments, please go to mountainglass.com. That is mountainglass.com. This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard, whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast. We have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show. Hey, what's happening? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 91. This is Jay Michael, your host. Thank you so much for tuning in today. With 17 years experience behind the torch, I am as excited as always to bring you conversations with artists, sharing their stories in hopes to inspire and entertain while helping you grow your business. And today is no exception, as we are going to be discussing 5 ways to get yourself set up in your studios for under $2,000. And what I'm going to be talking about is a very basic introduction of items you should be purchasing when you want to first get started. And this is a way to get started not only on a budget, but on a way to crawl before you walk, in a sense. But before I get into this conversation, I want to remind everybody and share that starting in June, I will be offering weekend one-on-one mentoring classes for anybody interested in getting into the craft, who is in the craft and wants to expand their techniques and learn some new stuff. Also, we'll be having a focus on specifics like introductory into pipe making, and also just a general introductory into lamp working itself. Plus, I'll be offering some intermediate, advanced, and some more advanced technique classes coming up after that. But at first, I'm going to be getting these basic introduction classes going first. I will have more information to come, but just want to keep that going because, again, this kind of relates to this episode in terms of the very beginnings of getting yourself started. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this party started. So some of the things you got to think about when you first get going is how to set yourself up without breaking a budget, and how to really set a budget and make sure you stay within those parameters. It's easy to want to just jump right into it and buy a GTT and get real big flames and big kilns and all this crazy glass and equipment, and next thing you know, you're 2 weeks into it and you realize that this is not for you, and then you're selling all your shit on Craigslist for half of what you paid for it. And to me, and I'm sure you agree, it is a waste of energy, not only time, but also a lot of money. So today we're going to discuss 5 areas to focus on when getting started and how you can do these topics of conversation here and get everything you need for under $2,000. Now, the first thing I'm going to recommend, well, actually, let me cover the 5 things first. We're going to talk about specific books you need to buy. We're going to talk about items to purchase when coming into getting your actual bench and ventilation set up. Talking about basically your starter kits that are available to purchase, type of glass you can get, and then last but not least, the kiln you should be getting, or something that I can recommend. And again, these are all just recommendations. I'm not saying this is set in stone or you have to do it this certain way, because I'm not that kind of person just to say this is exactly how you need to do things. But I am just kind of giving you some opinions and references, and again, based on getting myself set up over the years, helping other folks get set up, and also building a studio and bringing other artists in who had never done this before and having to get them established from the ground up. which has happened several times over the years. So for starters, you can find all these items and this checklist in the show notes page. I'll have a link in there that'll just say PDF download. That'll take you to a link that'll be a public Dropbox folder that you can open and then download or just copy or whatever you want to do, the PDF on there as a checklist, along with links to Mountain Glass where all this stuff is available. And being that Mountain Glass is our flagship sponsor for the show, definitely will be promoting them at every corner possibility that I can. And again, because they also have great customer service and they are very knowledgeable, and they also carry just about anything and everything that you could possibly need, especially when you're first getting started. So the first thing I want to cover is the educational side of things, and that comes in reference to books. Bandu Scott Dunham put out a set of books called Contemporary Lampworking that, to me, is the go-to Bible for our industry. It covers everything from getting started, introductory into the glass, science behind it, the way that the stuff moves, some general history and what have you. And it's full of drawings and schematics and pictures and just really, really amazing info that you will be able to take into your glass from the beginning and also your glass all the way to the very end in terms of learning your skills. And it's just a great reference book. Anytime I teach a class, it is part of what you pay basically for your fees for class. You get these books in there. And just like going to school and getting textbooks, I don't require you buy them separately. They actually come with the class. And just because these, again, are very essential into getting started. So Bandu Scott Dunham's series of books, Contemporary Lampworking, I believe there's number 3 out right now, but you can buy the first 2 volumes from Mountain Glass for $70, which I thought was pretty good. Second is thinking about your setup in your studio. Now, I'm going to do a full, complete episode on this topic, but just for starters, I want to say that there is a really simple way of going about it, but it all depends on where you're setting up your studio at. You got to think about safety for 1, your air for 2, and where you're going to put your tanks and your bench and all that stuff. But just kind of a general basic kind of idea is that you need an opening for a fan and you need an opening for fresh air coming in. A lot of garages nowadays that people have attached to their houses have a window and a garage door. And ideally you can build your bench in front of the window and either take the window out or just put a piece of plywood in front of it or over the window. And what I did for several studio spots was just went and bought a Hampton Bay style, which is a Hampton Bay is a brand, but a floor fan. Those floor fans run around 2,500 to 3,000 CFM when they're on high. And if you can build yourself a nice little box around the window that you'll work inside of, it'll optimize your ventilation in your studio. Then you got to think about bringing air in, so you got to make sure you have a door, a garage door, some kind of way to get fresh air in that isn't drawing directly across your bench. Ideally, you want to be able to have it coming in behind you or on the ground in a sense. Air that flows across the front of your bench is going to mess up the process of your ventilation working properly. So you got to think about, again, just ways of getting going in terms of your setup. And then you also want to think about if you're going to be sitting or standing, or if you want to build a bench that can be used for both. Excuse me, I apologize for the yawns. I'm on day 3 of a marathon at Disney doing 15-hour days. So days 3, I'm pretty pooped. But anyways, so think about those kind of things. But again, I'm going to get into this more into detail, specifically having a show just on your studio and bench and ventilation setups. But for around $100, $150, you can get all the wood and basics that you need to set yourself up, including your fan and what have you. And it's a really simple process if you know some general construction techniques, nothing really major. If you have some friends that have tools you could use, saws and what have you. But for $150, you can get yourself set up. So right now we've got $70 worth of books and about $150 worth of equipment, materials for setting up your bench and your ventilation. Next thing, too, along with the ventilation of benches, you want to think about organizing your space. I recommend getting some kind of basic little shelving system. You can find them on Amazon or at the Home Depots and the different hardware stores for around $60. And then you could also get into different areas, whether you want to get some plastic bins, some tubs, just some different things that you want to use just to store your raw materials or scraps or pieces that you've made. Just different ways of getting organized. So for roughly, say, another $75 to $100, you can optimize that as well. So you're looking at $70 for books, and we'll say $200 for your bench and ventilation and organizational equipment. So now we got about, $270 we're running on right now. And then we got to get now into our kits. Now, Mountain Glass offers several starter kits that have a wide variety of different torches. Depending on what your true budget is, there's different variations of going about this. You can spend anywhere from a couple $100 up to several $1,000s. Now, the kit that I recommend just to get started, if you've never done glass before, is the National 3B kit. Now, the National 3B is actually a hand torch, but it has been modified and designed to where you can actually mount it on a bench. It has a little stand it comes with. The kit also includes your hoses, regulators, some standard tools that you need, as well as some accessories like some graphite pads and what have you. It's a really good way to learn from the very beginnings. The National torch is very versatile. It's been a standard go-to for lamp workers for a long, long time, especially for those that are into more of the sculptural stuff, working with clear, larger mass stuff. Just kind of depends, again, on what you're going to be getting yourself into. But it goes along with the whole you got to crawl before you walk idea, and by working on a smaller torch, this is going to allow you to accomplish that. You can go and buy a Carlisle or get into a Bethlehem or get into a little bit bigger, torch that's a 2 or 3 stage torch that has an inner and an outer flame. But again, I recommend getting a smaller hand torch. I mean, you can go as small as a minor bench burner, which is what I started on myself that I first bought, because it's going to teach you how to use your flame, how to use your tools, and how to use the glass, and really give you a good solid foundation and create a foundation not only of learning your medium, but also a foundation of patience. Because getting into a big, hot, heavy flame is going to potentially lead to more frustration than it's actually worth, which could cause you to tap out and give up from the very beginning. So that's why I recommend this kit. And again, these are not just me saying, go ahead and you need to do this, but it's just recommendations. This kit is set up right now. It's actually on sale, I believe, right now for a little bit over $700, and which is actually a really good deal. And on this starter kit, you can use the promo code WISEGUY at checkout, and you'll save an additional 5% on that. The one fun thing with Mountain Glass is you can change some things in and out of the kits, which will then either decrease or increase the price depending on what you do. But again, this is just something that is just kind of a basic standardization of what I'm kind of covering. So we have your books, we have your ventilation, your benches, your organizational stuff, and now we have your starter kits. So the next thing you got to get is glass. Now, one other beauty that Mountain Glass carries are sample packs, which I recommend highly. You can get a clear sample pack that they have, which has just kind of a variation of different sizes of rods and tubes and what have you, which will give you a chance to experiment and just kind of play around. And these run $50, which is awesome. And then they have color kits you can get. Now, the color sample packs I recommend to get are ones that you can get that are basically their little shorts. You can get a 5-pound bag of North Star shorts, which are basically little nibs or little short sections of glass that were cut that run, I believe it's $50 for the sample pack. And the fun thing about this is by getting this little setup, you will get yourself a nice broad variety of color. Now, when you first get started, you're probably not going to have any idea what this color is. You can hold glass up to the light and look through it, and some of the darker shades will look blue when really it's like an experimental green or a blue moon. And the ways you go about really finding out what the color is just by taking a little, taking the nib or the nub or whatever you want to call it, and just heat up the very tip of it in the flame and You'll know by whether you have any kind of oxidation or metal that comes to the surface of the color. Will give you an idea, potentially, of what you're dealing with in the color. But again, you get 5 pounds for $50, which is a killer deal. It's just as cheap as buying Chinese material, the color. It's actually a little cheaper, and you're purchasing American-made glass and supporting an American company. Now, myself personally, I have nothing against the Chinese materials and stuff. I do still use it myself, and I do recommend it for anybody that's getting started and want to practice to use the Chinese glass because it is very affordable, except for certain colors you get into. But by buying the sample packs again, it's going to give you a variety of glass to play with, different colors to look through, and just give you a chance to just really get a feel for the differences between transparent colors, opaque colors, transparent colors that are stiffer than opaque colors. Like, it's really interesting when you get into working with different varieties of colors. And then again, your clear packs you have are $50, depending on which ones you get. But the one I recommend is $50, and I'll have this link for you guys in the show notes. So you have your books, number 1, your ventilation, bench setup, organizational stuff for the studios, number 2. Number 3 is getting into the starter kits with your torches, your equipment and supplies and tools. Number 4 is getting into your starter kits, sample packs for glass, color and clear. And last but not least, number 5 is your kiln. Now, kilns can be expensive. Kilns can cost anywhere from $700 to several $1,000s. The most important thing you have to take into consideration when purchasing a kiln is shipping it. Most kilns, depending on the size, are going to run anywhere from $250 to $400 to ship them. It also depends on where you live and where it's coming from. If you can find a local supply person that carries kilns for you, you can go about and just go pick it up, which will save you a lot on shipping. But when you do get a kiln, you got to take into consideration shipping costs. Now, the kiln that I recommend to help on all the above is called a chili pepper that Genkin produces. This is a badass little kiln. It right now is on sale at Mountain Glass for $600. It is a great starter kit or a starter kiln because not only is it lightweight, it weighs like 8 pounds, but it's also running on 110, is very portable, and has a big enough opening inside space where you can work on larger items. Now, it's not tall per se, but it's wide. It is around, I would say, 6 inches max, I believe, inside. And basically what it is they've taken a Craftsman toolbox and converted it into a kiln, which is pretty sweet. It's a larger toolbox, but they use some kind of like an oven element of some sort inside. And this little son of a bitch is a great kiln to get started with. One other thing about this kiln is down the road when you begin to get better at your work and you start making a little bit of a profit and you need to upgrade your kilns and you want to buy a bigger kiln, this kiln is a great benchtop kiln which will give you space to warm up blowpipes, sections, keep things hot while you're working multiple sections. It's just an overall very utilitarian kiln. I love this thing. We have, at all of our stations at Disney, we have this kiln. An older company I worked with, I bought several of these for us because, again, they were great warmer kilns for the bench. And then you can have a bigger kiln where you put all your final pieces into as you're working. And again, this kiln right now is on sale at Mountain Glass for $600. So let's start from the very beginning. So we have our books, $70. We have our getting into our organizational equipment and supplies in the studio. We're going to say $200 for that, so you got $270. You get into your starter kits, which is the National 3B starter kit. Right now you can get it for $700. So right now we've got $970. Then you get into your glass supplies, which you're looking at another $100. So there's $1,070. Then you get into your kiln, which is $700 roughly with shipping. So that's another $1,170 and $700. So now you're looking at $1,770. So you can see now, if you have a $2,000 budget, that you still have around $230 to work with. That you can buy some extra things. You can upgrade certain equipment, like your regulators, for instance. And these kits are a little bit smaller regulator. They're perfect for a national, but when you get into, say, working multiple torches on these regulators, they will not work well. The pressures don't get that high. Most of your torches require at least 30 psi or higher to work functionally and maintain a good flame. The national and the smaller torches only require anywhere from 6 to 10 psi of oxygen, so these small regulators are ideal for that. So just things to think about. You can swap in and out, but when you do order all this stuff, definitely call Mountain Glass, give them this list, and discuss with them what it is that you're wanting to get into and what you're looking at starting. And don't try to get all crazy when you get started. Just get your basic setups like I'm talking about, and just learn the medium. Ball up glass, make beads, make pendants, make little small tiny perfume bottles, little tiny little things, and learn, practice. Don't think about making money. Don't think about selling your shit. Think that everything you're going to make, either you're going to keep, you're going to give away, or you're going to throw in the garbage. Those are the 3 ways of getting and moving forward. Now, if you have friends that offer you money for your stuff, tell them hold off and save that money until I get better. And then just whatever you're trying to give me twice as much. I don't know, but it's just an idea. So there you go, guys. I'm on the road in traffic, trying to focus on the road while I'm discussing all this. So hopefully it makes sense. But the notes that are on the show notes, I will again have a link with the PDF explaining all this, breaking it down with links to Mountain Glass where you can find all this stuff. And again, under $2,000, you can get yourself established and set up. You can get yourself set up safely, you can get yourself set up organized, and you can get yourself set up with a great foundation that will then lead to a big, bright future as a glass artist. And then if you get started and you realize that this is not something that you want to do, you take your kit, everything you bought, you put it on Craigslist, and then you sell it, and you get your money back. And I wouldn't sell it for any less. Maybe 10% less because it's been slightly used. But, don't go crazy. Set a $2,000 budget for yourself and get her done. Love you guys. Don't forget to go to wiseguymedia.com. Wiseguymedia, WYZGUI, media.com. Website is in the middle of construction, but it is up and running. You can also send me any notes, conversations, comments, critiques, what have you, at info@wiseguyradio.com. And I will have the subscription button up pretty soon where you guys can get back into subscribing to our newsletter, which I have put on temporarily on hold. But coming up next month, I will be relaunching the newsletter, which will have full insights into getting into my classes I'm offering. And I'm only going to be offering 4 classes, which is 4 weekend classes to get started because of my crazy schedule. And then depending on the demand, I already have 2 spots pretty much filled, so there'll be 2 more available. But make sure you guys jump on board because these will be selling out quickly. And look forward to bringing you guys in under my wing and showing you what this life is all about. Y'all be good. Take it easy. Tell those you love them. Give them hugs and kisses. And thanks again for tuning in to this episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 91. 5 ways to get yourself set up for under $2,000. You guys take care. We'll talk to you soon. Peace. All right, so some of the things you got to think about when you first get going is Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. If you have any questions, comments, or remarks, please leave them in the show notes page area where it says comments. We'll see you soon. Have a wise night.